So before you collect a sample of data in order to make some type of inference on a population, you need to figure out which type of study you'd like to perform. And there's going to be two main types of studies that we're going to be looking at in this class. One of which is called an observational study. And in this type of study, you observe the observational units that you're interested in that already have certain treatments or factors associated with them. And we'll see a little bit of what that means, treatments or factors. The other type of study, which I'm sure you're familiar with, is what's called an experiment. And the difference between an experiment and an observational study is that in an experiment, you apply the treatments or factors to the observational units themselves. So observational study, you're going to observe these units with them. Experiment, you're going to apply them. Now, you'll notice a lot of definitions the first week or two of this class. After that, we're going to see very little definitions. Like I said, I assume that you know nothing about statistics, so we're going to build our foundational knowledge from the ground up. So let's see a little example of the difference between an observational study and an experiment. So in this example, a nutritionist was interested to see what type of healthy eating habit was most effective for weight loss. So what they did is they took 4 different eating habits: a vegan diet, a vegetarian diet, a carb-free diet, and a sugar-free diet. And to study which one was most effective for weight loss, they sampled 200 random people and measured the amount of weight lost in pounds for each person. So the two ways to go about this is an experiment or an observational study. So let's check out that observational study. What they would do is they could just ask 200 random people. Maybe on the street, maybe they take a poll, maybe they have some type of survey, send out an email. But they randomly ask 200 people what eating habit they have and how much weight did they lose once they started. So you'll notice we're not applying anything to these people. We're finding people, random people, and asking them the amount of weight they lost and what type of eating habit they had. An experiment, you'll find, is a little bit more controlled. So an experiment, what they can do is they could get 50 random people to do each of the 4 eating habits: a vegan diet, vegetarian diet, a carb-free diet, and a sugar-free diet. They can see how much weight was lost after 3 months. And they could put each participant in a specific program that measured the amount of calories they had, maybe based on their weight, and gave them all a certain amount to exercise per week. So we can see in this type of study, an experiment is controlling for a lot more. With the observational study, maybe some people were on a diet for 2 months, 1 week, or 10 years. There's a lot more up to chance. There's a lot more variables coming into play when you do an observational study compared to an experiment. I think it's quite clear to see the winner of the two types of studies is an experiment. And the main reason that is because an experiment controls for blocking. And what blocking is controlling for factors that may have an influence on the outcome of your experiment, but you're not interested in. Right? We weren't interested in how much exercise somebody needs to perform in order to lose weight. We weren't interested in the amount of calories they needed to eat in order to lose weight. All we were interested in and focused on was which one of those 4 diets or eating habits was most effective. And in doing so, and blocking for other variables, you're allowed to zero in or focus in on that specific variable you're interested in, and you can get more conclusive results this way. However, experiments aren't all great. One thing you can think of is, well, how are we going to get the resources to do an experiment like this? Right? We would need to find 200 people, assign 50, essentially make them do one of 4 eating habits, measure the amount of calories they take each day, measure the amount of exercise they have each day. We have to control for all those things. It's going to take a lot of time, effort, money, and resources. So sometimes an experiment is not plausible given your resources. Experiments also can be unethical at times. So for instance, imagine this experiment was not studying which of the 4 eating habits was most effective. Instead, imagine we were doing an experiment to see which of 4 drugs yielded the most healthiest person. And so we said, you know what? All right, let's take 50 people. You all try to do heroin for a month, come back, and we'll see how healthy you are. You 50 people, you try to take cocaine, come back after a month, we'll see how healthy you are. And imagine we did this for 4 different drugs, and we saw how healthy they are after a month. You'd probably think to yourself that this might not be the best experiment to perform here, affecting people's lives. They can end up in really bad situations. Experiments aren't always realistic to do in the real world. Morals, ethics, they all come into play here. So when thinking about if you're going to perform an observational study or an experiment, you have to think about what is more important to you. Is it blocking for certain variables and allowing you to see a better effect on the variable you're interested in? Or is it an ethics question or a resource question? Because depending on which one you value more should affect which type of study you choose.